Today on the CTV News at 5.
You just never know, do you? Just what can happen to you that quick.
One person is dead after a crash at the Tabor Hospital. Plus, Vulcan's out-of-this-world tourist attraction has been named one of this planet's most famous. And why you may spot yellow fish along Lethbridge pathways.
CTV News with Jackie Scantlebury.
Good afternoon. A 34-year-old man is dead after an SUV crashed into the Tabor Hospital. Police say the Tabor man was watching the hockey game last night with some buddies when he suddenly got up and left to drive himself to the hospital. Shortly after, the man's Jeep Cherokee ran into a support pillar at the front entrance of the hospital. Terry Vogt has the latest.
At the Tabor Healthcare Center, bricks are strewn over a parked bench and piled on the sidewalk. A small section near the entrance is taped off to prevent public access. Police responded to the hospital Monday night after receiving reports that a Jeep Grand Cherokee had collided with a support pillar, causing significant damage. Emergency room staff attended to the driver.
They heard the noise from the collision, immediately stepped outside right from the emergency room and went to work from there.
A 34-year-old man was pulled from the SUV, but he couldn't be saved by hospital staff.
Yes, you just never know, do you? Just what can happen to you that quick.
Leona Johansson says she was visiting her son at the hospital, but left just moments before the collision.
And then I got an email from a friend of mine when I got home saying, this is what happened at the hospital. So it was quite shocking, I can tell you that.
News of the mishap spread quickly through the small community. Family friends who've spoken to the man's mother say they were told he suffered an asthma attack. Police say the man had been watching the Stanley Cup final game at a friend's house when he suddenly got up and left.
We believe anyhow from our investigation that he must have felt that he was in medical distress, drove himself to the hospital and suffered a major medical event there.
Police say speed and alcohol were not factors in the collision. They also say it's believed the injuries the man suffered in the accident were not serious. They're waiting for autopsy results to confirm cause of death. Terry Vogt, CTV News, Tabor.
The name of the person who died is not being released at this time. Maintenance workers have been on site to assess the damage and start planning repairs. Operations at the Tabor Healthcare Center have not been affected. Well, the fast actions of a semi-truck driver likely prevented a crash with a Volkswagen Jetta from being much worse. Shortly after 6:30 this morning, a VW failed to stop at the intersection of Highway 1 and 36. A semi-truck driver from Manitoba heading west on the Trans-Canada saw the vehicle and then swerved to avoid broadsiding the car. While there was significant damage to the car, only the driver suffered minor injuries. The passenger, not injured, and the semi-driver was also uninjured. Charges are pending. The man who pleaded guilty to abducting a 3-year-old Sparwood boy will now answer to break and enter charges from the Crow's Nest Pass in a BC courtroom. Randall Hopley will be sentenced this July in Cranbrook for the abduction of Keenan Hebert. The 47-year-old pleaded guilty in March to abduction and break and enter. And now charges from the Crow's Nest Pass, including break and enter and possession of stolen property, have officially been transferred to a Cranbrook courtroom. In May of 2010, police say they found Hopley in a cabin in the Pass belonging to a Calgary couple who had locked it up for the winter. Okay, Dory Rossiter, average around this time of year, 22 degrees, but we're going to see temperatures drop down to about 17. So not a cold snap.
Yeah, it's not a cold snap. That's pretty good. And right now it looks like that temperature could be 17 to 19 degrees depending on where you are. So, you know, slightly cooler, but, you know, the forecast is looking pretty healthy. We do have some rain showers, possibility of in the forecast, and I'll tell you about that. But it's areas to the north that are going to get the heavier amounts of rain. So we'll have all the details coming up in a couple of minutes.
Thanks, Dory. Well, Vulcan's out-of-this-world tourist attraction has been named one of this planet's most famous. The replica of the Starship Enterprise has been named one of the top 5 roadside attractions in the world. The list was compiled by the online travel guide Lonely Planet. The Star Trek company welcomes visitors to Vulcan along the way. on the highway. Each year, the town hosts hundreds of Trekkies from around the world for Spock Days. Well, a high number of bear sightings in the Crow's Nest Pass has Fish and Wildlife and community members working together to try and preserve a safe and healthy relationship with the animals. Yesterday, we showed you the story of a black bear who was being tagged and then tracked with a device. Well, our crew was also there when he was released back into the wild. Alicia Fieldberg reports.
They tried every window.
Marlene Antle has seen several bears on her property in the past few weeks. Days ago, she had a mom and two cubs scratch at her house window.
They're hungry right now. There's nothing to eat, and they like the green grass we've got here.
Fish and wildlife officers think the early spring is drawing more bears than usual into town to search for food. The problem is when they find an often unintentional food source in someone's yard that keeps them coming back. This can be anything from garbage, fruit fallen from trees, or bird feed.
They just want to coincide with us, live in the area, and it's all about food. If there's food there, they'll come and they'll stay.
Officers sometimes catch bears who get too close to humans, including this black bear tagged as number 4. A community volunteer group called Bear Smart helps tag and monitor them. The bears are then moved away from town so they'll learn to rely on food from the wild.
As Fish and Wildlife officers release a bear, they make a lot of noise to try and scare it. This teaches bears that keeping a safe distance from humans is the best way to cohabitate.
You know, if he grows up to be the big male, the bully on the block, that's the bear you want around because he's been educated, he knows.
The Bear Smart group not only helps educate bears, it educates people as well. Officers say hearing about ways to safely coexist with bears has a lot more impact when coming from community volunteers. Antle admits food on her property has unintentionally attracted bears before. Now that she understands, she's spreading the message to her neighbors so she can preserve the wildlife experience that makes her mountain home special.
It's a matter of educating the people as to Bear Smart and what to do with them and how to live with them because they were here before we were.
Alicia Fieldberg, CTV News, Crow's Nest Pass.
Bear Smart volunteers and Fish and Wildlife tracked bear number 4 after his release. And they say that he is now settled outside Bellevue in a spot considered a good area for bears. The pathways near Father Leonard Van Tegen's school are now lined with yellowfish. It's the 6th annual Yellowfish Road program. Students in grade 3 and 5 painted yellowfish with the message "rainwater only" next to storm drains, and we're handing out information to nearby homes to raise awareness about stormwater pollution. Lethbridge's storm drains directly empty into the Old Man River untreated, so organizers say it's important that people are careful about what goes into them.
And the fact that anything that goes down your storm drains from your driveways or yards or back alley goes into the Old Man River untreated. So it's pretty important to raise awareness about that fact because not a lot of people know that.
Last year, students painted more than 650 storm drains and they distributed 3,400 fish-shaped door hangers with information about their program. A team of paleontologists from the Royal Tyrrell Museum think they may have found a type of dinosaur's nest never before found in Canada. And it could be right in our backyard. Experts believe that it lies near Warner, about 66 kilometers south of Lethbridge. The bones belong to a Mesosaura, a duck-billed dinosaur that measured nearly 10 meters long and have been found. Experts say there's likely a nest buried deep in the rock nearby. And if they're right, they found the first eggs of its kind in Canada. Excavation will begin this summer. Lethbridge Car Dealership is rewarding one of their customers and a Southern Alberta charity. This afternoon, Lethbridge Northside Dodge presented a check for $7,000 to Mackenzie Ferguson. The 17-year-old recently purchased a car from the dealership, and as part of a promotion, everyone who bought a car in the last 2 months had their name put into a draw for a cash prize. The dealership also donated $7,000 to the winner's charity of choice. Ferguson picked the Alberta Children's Hospital.
I'm pretty excited. It's going to help me a lot with university and money towards my vehicle, obviously. And I chose it because I love children, and it bothers me seeing sick kids.
Oh, it'll make a big difference to Southern Alberta families. A lot of our children are serviced at Alberta Children's Hospital. If they need more specialized care than what we can do here in Lethbridge, we definitely send them up to Calgary, and they get just awesome care up there. And with the new hospital, it's just wonderful. So this is a great gift that'll definitely service all of Southern Alberta.
And Ferguson also won 7,000 air miles. Now, speaking of charities, a couple of local fundraisers really raised some funds. The Relay for Life pulled in $280,000 for the Cancer Society, while the Law Enforcement Ride for Special Olympics brought in $19,500, with some additional donations still being counted. The Farmers Market in downtown Lethbridge will be bigger than ever this year. The market is located at Festival Square on 6th Street and 3rd Avenue South, across from Galt Gardens. It's open from 10 a.m. until 3 p.m. every Wednesday from July the 4th until mid-September. This year, the market has expanded to include 32 vendors selling everything from locally grown fruit and vegetables to jewelry, clothing, and crafts. The downtown market was developed through a partnership between the Downtown BRZ Exhibition Park and the City of Lethbridge. This will be the 6th year of operation.
It fits in perfectly with what our goals are and the City of Lethbridge's heart of our city goals, to create vibrancy and to create excitement in the downtown core. And, you know, going into our 6th year with Farmers Market, it's kind of grown to a place where people look forward to it, they anticipate it, and it's very well attended.
We try to do most of our programs to designate and illustrate what comes from the ground up, and that's what Farmers Market is about. That's what Ag Societies in Alberta are about. So whether it's Aggie Days that we do, or Ag Expo, or Home and Garden, obviously the Farmers Market, all of these shows that or events that we do there are all promoting Southern Alberta, number one. Number two is homegrown stuff.
The Downtown Farmers Market is an addition to the regular Farmers Market at Exhibition Park. That market is held every Saturday from 8 a.m. until 12:30 p.m. A unique horsemanship show is making its way across Alberta. Dan James is an Australian who's hoping to show Canada something different when it comes to training and performing with horses. With more, here's Mike LeBlanc in this week's Farm TV.
It's a show that will have you sitting on the edge of your seat, palms sweating and heart racing. Dan James takes a different approach to teaching horsemanship, and it's one that spectators at this year's main event in Red Deer are not likely to forget.
I think that probably what you would find unique in our presentation is that, like, there's a lot of guys have, like, I guess, a specialty, and our specialty would be liberty horses. So horses that are used for such things as like movie work, you know, where you see the horse run out and needs to lay down and needs to rear up, or, you know, kind of works within a theatrical, you know, type appearance where there doesn't appear to be any sort of, you know, attachments like halters or bridles or saddles. So that's kind of, you know, what makes what we do a little different to most of the other guys.
Dan James began presenting his unique show together with fellow Australian Dan Steers in 2008 and has since traveled the world, sharing education about horses with a twist.
Well, there's three parts to like what we do. The first part is like our live show entertainment or theatrical performances with horses, and then how that comes about is through just good horsemanship.
An entertaining form of education that audiences are thrilled to see.
Thanks, ladies and gentlemen.
To learn more about Dan James and his show For the Love of the Horse, visit doubledanhorsemanship.com.
Farm TV is brought to you by DA Building Systems.
To the financial markets, where there's a drastic turn from yesterday's numbers. A lot of up arrows today. Here are the final numbers.